Thank you, sir.
My name is Catherine Wyatt. I'm seeking to be elected to one of the 3 school trustee positions on the school board. This means that we need to elect team players. And yes, that's me. A school trustee can draw on a variety of relevant backgrounds. They can be a parent of a special needs child. They can be a former teacher. They can be an environmental activist and a small green business owner. And yes, that's all me. The community needs trustees who are committed to spending more time in our schools, promoting the communication between the school communities and their trustee, and consequentially, the school board. Yes, that's me. The school district superintendent needs trustees who share his vision for authentic, place-based, project-based learning, who will work with him to ensure that all of our children succeed to the very best of their abilities. Trustees who are engaged with the changes afoot in our education system and committed to moving forward in an effective and equitable way. Trustees who pay attention to implementation of new initiatives and are always looking to build on success or modify failures. And yes, that's me. In the 21st century, communities need school trustees who understand the importance of schooling for sustainability, where students need to learn to think ecologically, understand the interconnectedness of human and natural systems, and then have the ability and creativity to respond to these issues. A school trustee who is already fully engaged in promoting sustainability in the community as a committee member of Transition Salt Spring. That's me. So, thank you very much for listening. I look forward to listening and learning about your concerns and passions and ideas as the evening continues. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker will be Scott Howe. Scott?
Thank you, Les. I have 3 points that I would like to make tonight. The first point is that since coming to Salt Spring Island 10 years ago, I've been dedicated to this community. This is evidenced by my work as a park commissioner, Art Spring board member, and former treasurer, and my Rotary Club involvement, which included 2 years as president. As well, the experience I've gained through my role as a financial advisor with the credit union will be invaluable when it comes to the important job of budget preparation and ongoing financial oversight of the district. We need transparency and we need accountability. This cannot be overstated. For the past 2 years, I've been Parent Advisory Council Chair at the middle school, I've coached Tsunami basketball, and helped chaperone the school music trip to San Francisco in the spring. The second point I would like to make is that while I am open-minded, one area that I am unwavering in is my strong belief in the need for continued focus on foundation skills. While our district is seen throughout the province as an outstanding example of much of what is good in our education system, I would say that from the information I have seen, it seems that we don't have enough kids that exceed expectations in math skills, reading, and writing. For me, the results are not good enough, and we must keep this a priority. If our children are to be exceptional, they have to be more than average. Finally, I do embrace change, and I know that change is coming. Through engagement with our educators and administration, our students, parents, and support staff, as well as the broader community, we'll best learn about our local priorities, values, and expectations. I know that if our children are to excel and thrive, we need to adapt and come up with innovative ways to deliver education. It will be a challenge, but it is through being challenged that we all learn confidence and the motivation to embark on new and exciting and more rewarding challenges. I want to be part of it and help us all exceed expectations.
Our next candidate, ladies and gentlemen, Rob Pingle. And by the way, the timer doesn't start till you start speaking, so just take your time.
My name is Rob Pingle. I stand before you as a lifelong learner. I've been learning about my job as a trustee for the last 3 years, and it's been a rewarding experience. I'd like to do it longer, I believe as a parent in this school district, the most important thing you can do is be involved. And I was given the opportunity to be involved as a trustee, and I took it, and I'd like to continue doing it. Our schools are diverse places of learning that need the encouragement and support of everybody involved. Parents, teachers, all staff, and the community. We have some amazing programs in our school that engages the community in ways that I don't remember when I was a kid. Connecting generations at our high school is wonderful, and it's things like that that make me want to stay in this school district. I can talk on the radio when there's nobody in front of me, but in front of all of you, it's a bit more difficult.
Try it in front of a class.
Thank you. That's a good one. I really think that our district is amazing. It has great opportunities to embrace the changes that are in front of us, that the BC Ministry of Education would like us to work with. They're asking for our input at this time, and this is the time where we can speak as a whole through our school board and as individuals to share where we think education should be going. So I hope you will consider voting for me on November 19th. Thank you for your time.
Next up, Michael Ryan.
Thank you very much. I also feel that I'm a lifelong learner, just like Rob here, except mine's getting longer and longer. My background, being a teacher and principal of schools in different provinces. I served both as Director of Education, Assistant Superintendent of a number of school districts. I was seconded to the BC Ministry of Education to assist in the implementation of the Royal Commission on Education. I served as chair of external accreditation teams throughout BC, evaluating school educational programs. I assisted Rick Hansen, which is Man in Motion, in creating an educational program for young adolescents, targeting on the skills of values and making the right decisions. Supported School District 64 in helping to improve educational programs for students with special needs. And I also serve as a Splash Board member in working towards an inside swimming pool for everyone living on Salt Spring. I'm saying this as a background because I believe that my background is varied. I believe that I've got the skills, I've got the knowledge to work with school board members. Our school district is a very good school district. Is it perfect? No. It's always in need of improvement, and I believe part of that improvement is to meet with parents and students and teachers in trying to find what the areas of improvement ought to be. Everyone's talking about 21st century learning, but what is it? Different people have different views of what it is. So it's really important for us to get together as parents, as teachers, and to have forums and understand what it is, and then have a plan of implementation, and especially a plan to evaluate what it is that we're doing. I could say more, but I won't.
I just love it when they play nice.
And by the way, some of these, for all the candidates, are on the back table in case some people have not noticed that there are brochures there.
Next up, John Wakefield. John?
Thank you, Leslie. Good evening, everyone. My name is John Wakefield, and I'm a fellow Salt Spring resident who's passionate about education, our community, and our children's future. I graduated from Semiahmoo Senior Secondary in White Rock, and I earned a BA from Simon Fraser University. Moved to Salt Spring over 10 years ago. My wife Sherry has been here for over 20 years, and our three sons have attended the local school system, with our youngest currently in grade 3. Professionally, I have extensive management experience, including marketing communications for a publicly traded corporation, PR for the University of Victoria, small business owner, and as a director of not-for-profits. So I have the proven experience of achieving a vision, with and without the resources, both at the board table and as an administrator. School District 64 has great students, parents, and staff. Yes, we have challenges, but there are also exciting opportunities ahead. The board's primary directive is to improve student performance by engaging the community. Learning always starts at home. We need to encourage all stakeholders to take an active part in the evolution of our district. We need trustees that are equally adept at raising the bar as well as making consensus at the table. My level-headed and creative approach would be an asset to assist the district for continued excellence and better prepare our children for the future. When elected, I will first listen, then learn, and then lead. And when you go to the polls, please vote for John Wakefield for school board. Thank you very much.
Next up, Kathy Page.
Good evening, everyone. I've been interested in education on Salt Spring since before we came here 10 years ago, and I've been involved ever since. I'm a former PAC chair and have 2 children in the system. I'm a professional writer, so the arts, language and literacy are something I care about and know about. I am also an educator with 25 years of experience teaching, often in progressive, innovative ways in Europe and in Canada. I have taught in a high-security men's prison and at the Banff Centre for the Arts, and currently I work at Vancouver Island University. Now, everyone is excited by the current changes, and I too see much good in them. But I have concerns and I have many questions about the practicalities of implementing 21st century education in our district. I think the district needs a questioning voice like mine. I am standing for balance. I am also standing for process, for bringing in change in an educationally logical order. If you're going to offer self-directed learning, first ensure students are equipped to deal with it, stronger foundation skills. The district, I feel, suffers from a lack of good feedback throughout the system. Self-reporting has a place, but we need to work together to create evaluation that is based on evidence so that we have a more rounded, reliable picture. The board must find ways to communicate properly. It must commit to listening and responding to what it hears, even when the message is inconvenient. Resources are always limited. Personalised learning will require more, not less. We're famous for our ingenuity, yet still some special needs and other students fall through the cracks. Parents are increasingly expected to participate, a wonderful thing for sure, yet not possible for all. This creates inequality. I want to help make a school system that works for all.
Next up, Neil Wilkinson.
Hi there. Thank you very, very much for coming up tonight, and thank you very much, Les, for being our moderator. I moved here about 4 years ago with my family, and a big reason was we wanted to educate our 2 daughters here. We were told that Salt Spring had a great education system and also a strong sense of community. I have now officially 1 daughter who's 5 years old and entered that Wolford Elementary, and I think that and the fact that the BC education system is changing quite a bit right now and towards 21st century learning, and the timing of the elections, I thought it was a very good idea for me to run for school trustee. since doing this, the learning curve has been huge. I've been learning tons of stuff, talking to teachers, parents, administration, and the kids. And it's been great walking around the halls of all the schools, and I would like to bring the information that I've gathered from them to the board. And I really want to hear what you guys have to say, and I would like to represent you and Salt Spring community as the trustee. Thank you very much.
Our next candidate will be Cindy Clark.
I thought one last week you didn't say that. I think you said this one. Oh, good. What I wanted to know about me. I'm married to 2 children. My daughter is 20. She's been through the system. My son is 13. For 10 years collectively, I worked on PAC, CPAC, school planning committees. And when I was doing that as a parent, as a parent, what I was trying to do is really evoke more voices from parents. I was really tired of being at the same table at a PAC with the same 10 people. So I really wanted to hear from more parents. So I would actually phone them directly, every parent in school, and say, what do you want for your family, for your kids? So that was really important to me in the parent role. For the last 5 years, I've been a family counselor on the Outer Gulf Islands, and I've been working to create bridges between families and schools in that capacity. And it's given me an opportunity to really look at the teachers and the work that they're doing and the struggles that they're faced with. What I see right now is more kids coming into our district that have greater sensitivities, and they're bringing greater challenges to our classrooms. And I don't think we've caught up to how to deal with that yet. So I'm curious about what that looks like for more teachers and for more students and for more parents, and really look at that clearly and figure out what we're going to do with that, and not band-aid solutions, but what kind of solutions can we do that will be sustainable. So I really want to do it thoughtfully, so that our teachers are standing strong to support our kids. The other thing that was concerning to me is the 21st Century Living Plan coming in. There's a lot of change that's going to come with that, and I think it's going to be a really positive change, but there's going to be struggle in that. So I want to help support the ease of that struggle if I can. If I can bring my skills to the table to do that, that's what I'd like. Okay. So, thank you.
That was phenomenal, ladies and gentlemen. They came in under budgeted time. Now, we are ahead of time, which means that there's going to be more time for questions. But again, I ask you to pose good, tough questions, but I want to hear the questions, and they're the people who give the speeches tonight. You're the folks who ask the questions. Sir?
Speaking as one who's been a school trustee in British Columbia, I know whoever's elected will soon learn their authority is greatly constrained by the Ministry of Education on the one hand and the British Columbia Teachers Federation on the other. This means the trustees have as their major responsibility serving as an independent and cautious assessor of both actual and proposed local district policies, rather than serving as a cheerleader for current policies and proposals. Could all the candidates indicate to what extent they are in fact A, prepared, and B, qualified to provide independent and cautious assessment of both existing and proposed school district policies? Thank you.
Start with, we'll just go down.
I pass. That's quite a statement, quite a question. I think, most of the people are prepared because they're here tonight. What's really important is the knowledge that we're on our own in many ways. Funding has never been great for teachers in the provinces in Canada from school boards. And you know what? It never will be. So to look at your area, it's a matter of having the courage to assess what we're doing finding whether or not the budget is going in the right direction. And even if we have to reformat our goals, but at the same time, the financial officer, in conjunction with the superintendent, in conjunction with the trustees, have to come together and make those decisions that goes into one direction. I think that's all I can say, because it's quite a question, and we need more than 1 minute, perhaps after this bout.
I'm the current chair of the policy committee for the board, and I wouldn't say that 3 years ago I was qualified to do that. I was eager and determined and prepared to take on a learning experience to do that, and I participated in policy discussion to the fullest, bringing the ideas that I heard from the community and my own personal perspective of a father with young children and a wife that works in the schools. I think the beauty of the policy committee is that we work as a group, 7 people, with our partner groups, the teachers and the administrators, to learn what would be best for our district. We are not top down, we work from the bottom up, and I hope we can continue that way.
Good question, Stanley. I think you're right. The current boards do get caught in a bit of crossfire between the various organizations, and in some ways their role has been downplayed over the years. I feel I'm qualified in terms of that I'm a good communicator and analyst. I think looking at the issue objectively is very important. I'm a bit of a policy wonk, so I appreciate what good policies look like and what they mean. I'm an independent thinker. I don't have any contingency to represent, so I like to look at a 360 degree to all issues. And above all, I'd like to see on all issues as much as possible independent analysis and consultation within the community to help balance the various needs.
Thanks. I think I'm going to be quite brief. I have an analytical mind, and I'm also an independent thinker. I read and consider things deeply, and for the rest of it, I shall learn.
Yes, I'm very much going to find myself a steep learning curve if elected to trustee, but I'm a very good listener. I will look for people who do have perhaps some answers or a bit more of an insight in some cases. I'm not worried about going to search out people who do know the answers, possibly or have a different opinion. I did last week go and talk with Carol James, who was the BC Trustee Association chair for 5 years, and just to get her perspective on some of the questions that I was curious about. Also, having been a teacher in Britain and in the US, I do bring that experience, so another perspective that I can bring to policy, as well as being a parent. Passing to you.
I don't know how prepared I am. So far, I found this quite a steep learning curve, and but I think if I was elected, I would be able to learn quickly and work well with others and talk to people in what it takes to make sure that we can implement the best policies for the community.
Yeah, I don't think you're ever fully prepared for these type of roles, but we've all had children, and that was a steep learning curve. That is a steep learning curve. I think that as an investment advisor with the credit union, I am caught in the crossfires every day. It's my job to analyze investments and plans for everybody. As well, in terms of preparation, as I understand it, we're all sent off to boot camp for a few days, and that'll certainly help get us up to speed.
far as policies go, I guess my concern would be that they meet the needs of our students and that we keep them safe. When it comes to changing policy, I think it's about exploring what people want and asking them questions so that we can make proper assessments and create policies that do work for everyone in the district.
Great. Next question. Yes, sir.
Do you believe the collective agreement between the school district and teachers should contain clauses on class size limits, specialist teacher ratios, and services for students with special needs?
At this time, let's begin with you.
Jack, can you say it again?
Sorry. Up until about 10 years ago, we had language in our collective agreement. The language I describe now doesn't exist, and we're hoping to come back. And it says, do you believe that the collective agreement between the school district and the teachers should contain clauses on class size limits, specialist teacher ratios, and services for students with special needs?
Yeah, I think so. And those are big issues right now, right? So let's hope that they speak to that. And we keep that, we have to. We have no choice anymore but to do that, to pay attention to that, and we have to keep watching that. And so it's not on the table, it won't be looked at, and we have to. So, yeah,
As a potential or future school board trustee, I don't want to commit to that at the moment. But I do think those are very important issues. I would certainly like to spend a little bit more time looking into those because, as I say, I do believe that there may be a place for those, but before I have some more information, I don't want to commit to that.
I'd say yes to all those. I don't know how much the trustees have a say in it. It seems like it's definitely a lot of that is to do with the teachers and the government. I think in the district right now, people argue with me about that, but I think the classroom sizes are not too bad. Like, my daughter's in a classroom of 22, and I think that's the maximum. When I went to school, it was about 29 to 30. But I think there needs to be definitely more talk about special needs in the community and with the teachers and the government.
Yes, is the answer. I would certainly agree that the class size and the limits. So what was the second part?
It dealt with the special teacher ratios.
Yeah, exactly. No, absolutely. That should certainly come back. And as we move towards 21st century learning and the issues that what's been suggested, that it's important that the teachers are able to teach to what's being offered, and obviously class size will be significant in being able to meet that. I've got the wrong one, haven't I? Well, from what I hear, there's quite a lot of strain in the system, particularly as regards special needs. So yes, I too am in favour of these three things.
For me, the test is if it's better for the children and it helps the teachers do a better job, I would be supportive of it. I particularly have enough information. I do know that some of these items were specified in the School Act, and it makes sense that those both reflect each other. But I know it was very difficult time 10 years ago, and there's a lot of acrimony. I don't think that whether we support it or not, we will be able to affect the outcome now, because this is primarily a dispute for the provincial government, the BC Teachers Federation. But having said that, we should do the right thing for the kids and the teachers wherever possible, at least.
Those items are moved into the School Act, and I believe that considering the idea of collaboration, which we embrace in this district, where we talk to parents, the community, and all members of our teaching staff, that if it is used in the right way in the School Act, we can have a better collaborative model than if it is in a collective agreement where it's only a decision and a discussion between the teachers and the administrators. I would like to see a lot more collaboration between all department groups in a discussion like that, because it does affect the children. And I hope that with a move towards 21st century learning, we will potentially see a decrease in class size and special needs and the number of special needs students allowed in a class, and an increase for specialist teachers. I'll leave that to that government to decide.
I agree about the Ministry of Education dealing with the teachers union on this one. Personally, it all has to do with language. And I've seen language in contracts which are restrictive and which, in fact, if two teachers would like to share, one teacher taking 10 children and doing something with them while the other teacher takes 30, which is above class size, they should be able to do it. It shouldn't be part of the language where you restrict the flexibility of teachers working together. And so for me, it all has to do with language. And then how do we look at that language? The policing, which is often a reaction to language, is such sometimes that, in fact, it doesn't make for better education. So for me, the answer is it's all about language. It's all about interpretation. Thank you.
Yes, sir. We have a queue for me, so you are.
Hi. Over the last week or two, as I've run into people in town and they've asked me what the issues are facing the community as far as the school trustees, I've explained 21st century learning and the fact that Salt Spring is leading the rest of the province. People have said to me, how is it that I don't know that? Why don't we know this? What do you propose to do to improve communication between the school board, the school district, the parents, and the kids?
Start with Kathy.
Thank you. I think this has to, of course, begin with the trustees who visit the schools and both talk to and listen to the members of the school community. But going beyond that, I think we need a culture of greater openness. I know the board has made presentations, but of course not everyone can go to presentations. So I feel this has to be a multiple effort using lots of channels. I feel we need an updated website so that information and statistics, all the kinds of things we need to make informed assessments are readily available. And more than anything, I think there needs to be a sense of the absolute duty of communication as opposed to a more closed culture, which is what I've seen.
Excellent. Right on.
Yes, I agree that trustees need to be a lot more proactive in making themselves known to the school community, to the parents, so the parents know that that trustee that the school is assigned to is their voice at the school board. I certainly in this campaign, the number of times I've been to the website to try and find information. I do feel that there could be a lot more done on the website to make it more user-friendly, particularly for parents when they're looking for information. And just think back to how proactive trustees can be, possibly even a meet and greet, some sort of presentation, social evening at the beginning of every year, where trustees could make themselves known to the schools and begin that dialogue with the school community.
I think it's, as a trustee, I think it's very important to be in schools as much as possible. If I'm elected, I would look to see,
My apologies.
and other trustees going to see performances and being available and going to see shows and music stuff and to be there for any questions the parents have. from what I see now, information passes from like trustees to superintendents and then down to the DPAC and the PAC. It seems to flow quite well. I don't know how well the information is going from the PAC to the parents. That seems to be a bit of a stumbling block. The minutes take a long time to get out posted on any kind of website. I'd also like to see the ease of access for parents to get information up to the trustees and the superintendent too. I think that flow and going upwards is actually not flowing very well at all, and I'd like to see that work out better.
John?
It's a good question. There's probably more questions than answers about 21st century learning, so obviously the board's going to have to work hard on engaging the public. I think one of the things that would be very helpful is having a clear timeline of what the proposed rollout for the new program is. It's not even clear, looking at the BC education plan documents, that there's varying levels going from 4 months to 2 years in terms of formulating the plan. So I would like to see transparency and a clear process of engaging the stakeholders.
I think if we held an election every year, we would do a lot better at communicating with people. I've had amazing conversations with people in the last 3 weeks. A heightened awareness of what's happening in our district because of this election. I've been available to talk for the last 3 years. And when there's not that heightened awareness, it's hard. You throw information out and hope that it sticks. Teachers send home newsletters and hope that the parents read them. Communication is a challenge for everyone, regardless of what it's about. And I really think that as a board, we work really hard to communicate, and yes, we can improve it. Anything that we could do, any suggestions that would be made, I'd love to see them initiated. But maybe, the best thing would be an election every year.
Well, a lot of it comes down to parents. I think if the parents commit to checking their kids' backpacks every day, they can probably find a lot of information there from some time ago. But I think everyone has made some good comments here tonight about communication. But I do think a lot of it is up to the parents to take that proactive, chance to get that information and attend the PAC meetings. So it is a two-way street, but it takes two to tango.
It's a really good question. And it's not an easy one to tackle because communicating, getting the communication out to parents, I've been trying to do it for years, and it really takes a ton of work. And honestly, picking up the phone and calling every single parent, right? Sometimes that's the only way I've found that I can do it, and that works. But it's tough. And I think with the 21st Century Learning Plan, what's going to be important is we don't know what that's going to look like. And when you look at it on paper, it's like a utopia for our kids. It's absolutely beautiful. But in practice, what's it going to look like to individual teachers? I think it's going to look different for every classroom, perhaps a little bit different. And so I think we're going to have to go in there and start asking the questions, how is this? What does it look like for you as a teacher? And ask the students, what's it looking like for you? How is it working? Where isn't it working? How do we work with that? And then find out how it's moving into the system. And then document it and give it out to the parents as we go along, as we learn about what the process is going to look for us. I think we have an ongoing job to do that. So we'll see how we do that.
Michael.
Yes, I like the comment that it's a two-way communication. In fact, I've been to a couple of PAC meetings where there are 2-3 parents. So it's not a criticism, but it is a look at the way we communicate is not to be dependent on the fact that all parents are out there knowing what it is that's happening. One of the things, it's also about a culture. We've had candidates meetings that does not involve school trustees. And I couldn't get in last night because there were so many people there. I guess my point is that we have a culture where it's not as important. School trustees candidates is not important as we're talking about schools. We have a wonderful paper, it's called The Driftwood. They've won awards. But you know, they could do more in terms of the area of education. Every week, they could have half a page, a quarter of a page, to talk about all these things. And more people will look at the Driftwood than they will go on the computer.
Michael?
I've got much more to say afterwards.
That's everybody on that round? Okay, sir?
Good evening, my name is Peter Haas, and Mona and I have raised two wonderful kids, and now they're beautiful, successful young adults, and they went right through the school system right here on Salt Spring Island. I'd like to thank and applaud the teachers that put into that position of being wonderful young adults, especially Stella. She was a wonderful start from our teacher. She was very stellar. I'm passionate about one subject, and you all know about it. And the question is this, simple, the 4-day school week. The impact of the 4-day school week on our community and our students' achievements, has it been positive or negative over the last 6 years? And that question is addressed to Kathy Page and John. All enjoyed it.
I feel the poisoned chalice come my way. As everyone here knows, I campaigned against the 4-day school week because my instinct is that it's problematic educationally. However, there's never been a study done, and so really I think that's what we need. We need actual firm information on the educational outcomes, and then we can stop talking about this lot of people love it and this lot of people don't like it. Because the community is very divided, the feedback is very divided, always has been. So I think we need to get hard evidence. And it may be difficult to get it, but I don't think it's impossible.
I think I would agree with that. The experience of the 4-day versus 5-day week, it's been about 7 years, I believe, that we've had the 4-day week. And I think the reviews are mixed, both with students, teachers, parents. I think everyone has a varying opinion on that. I think what would be helpful to maybe quell some of the opposition is to create an independent review. Questions such as, is it working as intended? Is it saving us the money that we wish? Is it affecting our students' performance in the school? I think these are all good questions that could be answered, hopefully, with objective data. Having given the fact that there is really no independent data on shortened weeks, I think we could still look at other information to help guide us on that front.
Thank you. Rob?
I moved to Salt Spring after the 4-day week was established, and it was a reason that we moved here. We saw it as a benefit to our students, or to our children who would be students. I believe there is independent data available that says we are not harming our students and that our students are achieving at a level above the provincial average most of the time, which is what happens in education. The FSA test, which I'm sure is an acronym you all have heard, happened in grade 4 and grade 7. The data has been returned to us for 2009, 2010, and we are exceeding the provincial average in everything except math in grade 7. And in that case, we are only 1% below the provincial average. The data is there. We are saving money. We can't change that because of the money.
Michael?
Yes, I'd like to propose a 3-day week. Seriously, it's not also about academics, it's about empathy. We have, our school district is not just Salt Spring, it's also the other islands. And these kids have to get the water taxi. and they have to suffer over 3 hours on the water. One of the things about 4-day week is that not only did it save the money because the district does not have to pay the water taxes on the 5th day, but also it saves these kids one entire day of terrible ways of getting to Salt Spring. You've seen the waters, you know what it's like. It can be pretty damning, and we can't ban the parents because they chose the other islands. Our school district is all the islands. So I agree in part, though, that every year the school district has to make a decision to continue or not to continue, and that should be factual. Thank you.
Anyone else care to comment? Yes.
I like Rob, our family and I moved here because of the 4-day week. Well, big part of it. We really thought it was a great idea and a good concept because I thought it meant more time, family time. I wanted to make sure that we still had a lot of family time and our kids got a good education. I know now that it's really hard on parents. It's hard on my family. The 4-day work school day to look to find resources for our kids so they aren't bored and watching TV all day on that Friday. But I would hate to see programs like the SEEK program and GISPA and all these great sports stuff we have going on in the school be totally decimated and cut from the school district because we had a big 5-day school.
Scott?
Yeah, certainly when the 4-day school week was first proposed, I wasn't that supportive of it. I think it's become part of our community fabric. But I do think we need some more studies on this. I don't think it should be just left that way necessarily. It's unfortunate that our measure of success is that something hasn't harmed our kids. I don't think that's a high enough standard for us. And if revisiting the 5-day week, especially in the younger ages, then I don't think it should be taken off the table.
And just so you know where I stand, I reiterate what Kathy and John and Scott are saying. We moved to Salt Spring enjoying the 4-day school week, but my experience had always been with a 5-day school week as a teacher. And I certainly had reservations about the children, more vulnerable populations within our children, children with special needs, children of different economic backgrounds, those children who can afford to do all the wonderful programs that are on offer on a Friday that our sons partake in, but that's not the same for everybody. And also the longer days for younger children. So I am curious about whether it works and who it works for, who it doesn't work for, and also I'm very curious about something that is put in place for economics and not for pedagogical reasons.
Anyone else?
I think it's one of those issues where we need to vote on it. And what the district did, I think they did invite people to vote on it every year. And as a community at large, we voted for the 4-day school week continually. And so regardless of how we feel about it as individuals, I think it's a community issue. If it works for the majority of the community, then it sticks. And also there's the issue around budgets and can we afford 5-day school week as well.
Anyone else? Next question.
Good evening. My name is Karen Reese. I have a question for Kathy Page. Kathy, I've heard that you feel that there are certain policies that discriminate against students whose families are not as affluent as other kids' families. Could you comment on that, please?
Thank you. Yes, in a sense that brings us back to the same topic. The 4-day week clearly is a case where if you have resources, financial and in the family, in terms of people being at home, then it's a lot easier to make a go of it. And people, on the other hand, with 2 working parents are going to be in a much more difficult position. Likewise, I do have concerns about 21st century learning, and particularly independent or self-directed learning. I think some students will take to this much more naturally than others. Some will need more support. There may not be enough in school. And again, parents will be what makes the difference. Now, we are very important people, but not all of us have the resources to sort of fill the gaps. And so I'm scared that we can end up being a school district where you can only come if you have resources.
John Reddick.
I'll just build on that slightly. The minister recently announced that part of the 21st century learning model would increase the use of technology in classrooms. And I think we need to do that. We need to find ways to help educate people to use these new tools without the expense of learning, of course. Some of the concern is that allowing some students to bring in their PDAs and their iPads or their laptops, while others that can't afford those resources may not be a fair, equitable approach. So I think it applies to both policy and actual equipment as well.
Anyone else? Not hearing anyone? The next question. Thank you, sir. An excellent suggestion. Sir?
Yeah, I'm David Payne. And the example of the 4-day week as well as 21st century learning activities is really one about revenue. What ideas do you have for, as a board member, for maximizing revenue in order to maintain and expand programs for students?
Thank you for that succinct question, sir. Is that a general question?
Yes.
Michael?
I am a proponent of any school district to seek funds other than the Ministry of Education. This district, to expect the ministry all of a sudden having full pockets to give more and more money is a dream. And I think that we have to be independent and we have to seek all other forms, alternative forms of monies. In the States, not that I am recommending the educational system in the States, but some school districts own shopping centers, as an example. And I can give you lots and lots of examples on how they have increased their budget. We have to look at this alternative, which is really not an alternative as by many parents, by many trustees and teachers alike. But we have to go and seek that information.
Cindy?
I'm not sure how to about school or business. But what I think we have a lot of really amazing resources here that we could look at using as efficiently as possible. So before we go and spend money on more resources, what's available, what's here, what can we use, how can we use it so we're effective and we're efficient? Quite often I see things come in and being offered, but then there's no follow-up, and so there's a disconnect in how we use that. But money is going out for tools for the classroom, but they're not always being implemented because there just isn't the resources. So, but we have so much expertise in our district. We have amazing people here, and I think if we started talking more to each other, what works for you, how do we bring that back to this classroom who's challenged by certain things, how do we just be more efficient with the resources we have and start there and then build up.
Rob?
The district has done a few things in the past few years that have increased funding and especially are noticeable presently. The SEED program on Saturna is a unique way to educate people about the environment in a wonderful environment, and it actually ends up being a way for our district to receive additional funds because of the isolation of the Saturna school. So that's one of the reasons why we thought promoting SEEK would be a good idea. Only one, because funding is not the key to education. Another interesting thing, dealing with distance, would be welcoming Windsor House into our school district. North Vancouver, we now have a school in North Vancouver. It's called Windsor House. It's been around for 40 years. It's an alternative school that is approaching education in a way that, just blows my mind. And that also helps.
Opponent silence. Thank you. Neil?
Well, I think part of the good thing about the 21st century learning thing with technology is that we can possibly get more technology into the rooms, like so maybe iPads or other PDAs or more computers. It could save on a lot of other ways. I noticed on the ministry's website that they spend $690 million in BC annually on paper. Like, it's crazy. Like, $1,200 per student daily. So, sorry, not 690 million, sorry, $20 million, sorry. They use 690 million pieces of paper annually. I think that's crazy. I think we could be doing that electronically now. Yeah, it'd be great. And also, we have an exchange student at our house, and what I've been told about the exchange program is that it brings up the numbers in our district, so it allows us for more funding.
Yeah. Well, I think these opportunities which are to do with educational expertise are a good idea. But beyond that, I want to say that education and school districts, I don't see our job as starting businesses. I think the business model is something that we need to actually get away from. The countries that do education well, like Finland, in which we're modelling ourselves at the moment, they do it well, and you're not somebody going to like this. They do it well because they have high taxes, and they have an idea of the common good, which people want to contribute to, and then they want the wonderful schools, the wonderful social protection, and the wonderful hospitals and so on that they get as a result of it. And I really am not going to sit here and think, can I open a shopping mall? Sorry.
Well, first point I'd like to make, I do believe that the school trustees and the board does have the ability to advocate for more funds to the ministry, and I would certainly be a supporter of that and a strong voice in doing that. In addition, as far as sort of either creating revenue or just reflecting on what we have, supporting green business practices that I know do exist here within the school district, in conversations I've had with Jeff Hopkins and also with Tom Graham, the Occupational Health and Safety Officer. So it's considering things like an aggressive hydroelectric production program, which includes like motion sensors for heat and light in schools. So it's actually going to not a business model of Kathy was referring to, but actually looking at how the school district works as a system and applying good practice in order to clock that, to save money.
Can I have a retort?
I'm sorry.
Finance is always a challenge, especially with these declining budgets, and I would advocate a three-tiered approach. One, and just echoing my colleagues here, one is to try to reduce expenditures where appropriate, to advocate for more money from the ministry, and the third thing is try to increase the revenue streams where appropriate. I think programs like NISPA and the International Education Program are successful, and they show innovation by the district in trying to meet these shortfalls. We have to be careful we don't overcompensate and have over-skewed to the business model, but I do believe they will play a part in trying to meet these financial challenges.
give your name, please.
Helen Garbinski, and just a note, our community has raised hundreds of thousands of dollars. I would think they could do some for the school. But my question is, going back to communication, a lot of you have mentioned that communication was a problem of getting the communication from the school or the trustees to the families. Well, I'm not one of the families. I'm a family of the community, but not of the school. And so I'm really interested in the school system, and I want the information too. I wonder if what you think of maybe having a school blog that all these kind of things could go on, because many of us, adults and children, like to read blogs, and you can go there without having to search through all the things in the Driftwood or all the things on your email, which I'm about to give up on email, but a blog you can choose. And so I think, what do you think of that?
Good
Is
idea.
that a general question to the...
A general question, yes.
Okay. Kathy, you say.
I think it's a good idea. Not much to say more than that.
Catherine?
Yeah, it's a great idea. In fact, Jeff Watkins is planning on starting a blog with regards to green practices around the school district, so you can read about that.
John?
Great idea. Read my blog at cjohnwakefield.com.
Yes, I think it's a good idea, and I can just touch back on the previous question. Doesn't have a quick word.
I don't think he had a chance.
Should I cut you out?
Yes.
I apologize. Go ahead. Sorry, Scott.
No, it's fine. I just want to say that I agree with I believe what Kathy said, that we should not be losing focus here, and we need to focus on education. We should not be focusing on outside businesses to try to generate revenue. We can do that through our international programs or through GISPA, but I mean, we've got enough on our plate as it is, and I think we need to spend that dealing with our education system. And yes, Ellen, I believe the blog there is a wonderful idea.
I think if you go to the school district website, there's links to pretty much all the elementary school, high school, all those guys have their own websites, and quite often you can see that the teachers will set up blogs for the students, and the teachers have blogs for themselves. I think that's a really good start. Okay, yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it's a great idea. Anything that we can do to create more communication is great.
I'll just weigh in to say that it is a good idea. I've embraced social media for this campaign, and the things you can do with Facebook and Twitter are amazing, and I hope that in the near future the school district will do the same. I know the high school, as Neil mentioned, various schools do certain things. Convergence would be key so that everyone can be informed in one spot.
Great idea.
Did I miss anyone? And I'd ask all the candidates, if I do, and I apologize to Scott, if I miss someone, to wave your hand, okay? Yes.
My name is Mona Furty. I have a question for all of you. The 4-day school week was hatched from backwater poor southern U.S. towns as a survival mechanism due to budget cuts and poverty. It was imported to School District 64 because of budget cuts and has survived as an educational experiment. There is no independent sales data evidence about its effects on students and especially the vulnerable. Do you support an independent review of this educational experiment?
Michael?
Depends on the cost. Truly, we're talking about money, the lack of funding. So for me, it's a matter of finding out whether or not the school district has already embarked on it, whether it can be improved, and to what cost.
Cindy?
Yeah, again, do we do a study? Well, if we did a study and we found out that it wasn't working, do we have the budget to change it anyway? So I think if it actually can be put back on the table, that we could do something with it, and if people are concerned and we need a study, then yes, by all means we do a study. But again, it comes down to, can we do anything with that or not?
Rob?
I said previously that I believe there are independent studies done through the provincial government. And I think that, well, then I'd like to state that in a different way. I believe that through the FSA and through the graduation rates and the comparison of how our district performs to all other districts in this province, we are seeing factual data that tells us that the 4-day school week is working in this district. And I believe that on a yearly basis we discuss, can we return? Can we change? Is there a need to change? We discuss it on a yearly basis. And it comes back to the fact that it is working here and we can't afford an alternative. 2 birds, 1 stone.
Scott?
I can't say for sure if we need an independent study. But as I said before, I don't think anything's off the table. It would depend on the cost. I think where we really need to put our emphasis on is on the current 4 days that we have. I don't think those are being utilized to their full potential. I think there are kids in the high school that are spending a lot of their time not really getting too much out of it. So I think the emphasis should be on what we have now, the time that the kids are in school now. That's where the emphasis should be. And then over time, maybe if there's a demand for an independent study, then I would certainly support that.
John?
I would echo a lot of what Scott just said. I would add that FSAs may indicate that things are okay academically. Some of the concerns when you look at the satisfaction studies that have been released for the different grades seem to be declining a trend. So there are some other factors that may be a cause for concern. There are districts that have done independent studies. I believe Boundary 51 did an independent study, and they decided to keep the 4-day week. There are other districts that haven't done a study, but they decided to go back to 5 days. So the cost is a factor, but I believe what's really critical is the success of our students, and to weigh information carefully to make sure that the board is making the right decision in terms of cost saving versus negative impact.
Catherine?
Independent study. Again, I'm looking whether there's the community desire for that. I'd be particularly interested in the vulnerable groups that could be particularly being affected by a 4-day school week. It is difficult because if money is the factor, I think that's the wrong reason to be actually keeping a 4-day school week in place. And just how that independent study might play out. I'm just sort of brainstorming, perhaps it could be done if an outdoor body, an outside body came in like a UBC department. I don't know, but I'm hearing concerns certainly, but I'm still listening. I'm still listening to where people, to the pros and the cons.
I think the problem we have is that we don't really have comparative data. So although we can say that our students are at X average level, we don't know what they would have been at if we hadn't done this. They might have been somewhat above average. It's imponderable. I think we suffer in general from a lack of hard fact. So the sooner we can start practices within the district of actually obtaining better data, the better. I think it's possible that a study could be done which looked at the effects of a 2-day learning gap as opposed to a 3-day learning gap. and then we could apply that to our knowledge, and it probably wouldn't be that expensive, is my guess. So I'm in favour of getting facts.
I'm all for studies. I think you can get lots of studies on lots of things, but if it's going to cost the school district lots of money, I don't think that's appropriate use of that. So I don't think it's a wise use of money. It should be going towards the kids.
The planning is very use. We've been hearing an awful lot tonight about 21st century learning, and I'm of an age and have had a degree of experience in schools. I've seen so many of these kinds of buzzwords, initiatives come and go. When I was a student teacher, it was the open classroom, and then several years later, the walls back up. So I'd like to hear from you what you see as, 21st century learning to the side, and this is for anyone who cares to answer. What do you see as the importance of foundational learning at this point in time in our school system?
And we'll start with Scott.
Well, Murray, as you may recall from my 2-minute speech, that was point number 2, and I believe that there isn't enough emphasis on the foundation skills in our school district, and in many school districts. There's lots of facts and figures here that show that our kids are only maybe average in terms of their reading skills, in terms of their math skills, in terms of their writing skills. And I think that really needs to be the number one priority in the district, and we need to spend more time on those foundation skills.
Cindy?
I think it's been a priority in the past, and when I think about that, I think of the bell curve, and I think it really serves the kids in the middle, on the top of the bell curve. And what happens is that there's a fallout. There's the kids that fall out of that, and how do we serve them? And that I am concerned for that. What are we doing for those ones that are falling off? If we go back to the foundations, if how we were teaching the foundations was working for all of the kids, great. But there's the ones that fall out that it's not working for. So I don't think that we're going to give up foundations, but I think we need to figure out how we offer them so that it meets the needs of all the kids and not just the ones in the middle.
Neil?
I think the foundation skills are super important. They are the foundations. I think they're super critical in elementary and early years, and I'd like to see where the 21st century learning comes more into effect in the sort of high school years to start, and see how that works and moving into more of the elementary years. I think for, like Cindy said, kids on the bell curve, I think especially at the high school years, they really need to have that individual-based learning and chance to discover things in the world themselves and think about what they want to do with their lives.
Catherine?
Foundation schools, of course, very, very important. And also to consider where they're happening. They're happening in the early learning programs as well as the children coming into kindergarten and beyond. And of course, 21st century learning the foundation skills still very much apply there, and it's important that they don't get left behind. So when all the competencies, that's what I was looking for, the key competencies become the focus as we implement 21st century learning into the schools. So the foundation schools are extremely important.
Michael?
I don't think anyone in this room are against the foundation skills. Period. And 21st century, again, I don't think anyone agrees together. If we were to have a forum for 3 hours and say, what's your understanding of the 21st century? People might have an understanding, but they wouldn't necessarily agree with the person beside yourself. So there's a need, not only in this district, but other districts, to understand 21st century. It does not bypass the foundation skills. It simply indicates that there are other skills and other values. And for one value, I don't know if I have time for this, as an example, would be the value that we instill in kids. That's also another foundation skill. That's really important. When you look at television, when you read newspapers, you know that there's something lacking in those people who went through our schools and made the type of decisions that they have made. They have made wrong decisions. Why is that? Oh, good question.
Thanks. I'm not going to reiterate the importance of foundation skills, though I do think also that 21st century learning perhaps may require better foundation skills and even some skills that perhaps we don't normally name. Independent study requires a sort of independence of mind and critical thinking skills, computer literacy, decoding what one receives via the computer. All these could also be called foundation skills, and I think in the kind of learning environment that we're talking about, they'll become increasingly important. So it's very vital that we make those things work along with literacy and numeracy.
John?
My understanding of 21st century learning is that it does include the foundation skills. But as Michael said, we're not really sure about that at this point. And I would like to be assured that the foundation skills are a cornerstone to that plan, because we do not want to lose that. My other concern being, as you alluded to, that this program may or may not make it over the 20-month introduction it's proposed to take. So, A, we want to make sure that it's in there, and B, we want to make sure it's implemented and executed properly.
Rob?
One of the catchphrases for 21st century learning, it makes me think that we should call it pirate learning. It's the 3 R's and the 7 C's, maybe. The 3 R's being the foundational skills. And I think through 21st century learning, we are, and Cindy said it wonderfully, we're allowing our learners to experience and learn the foundational skills in a variety of ways. We joked before the meeting that we put Lance Les on a stool, and he said he didn't want one of those dunce caps on top of his head from the olden days. Those are, in my opinion, one of the things that they gave to students who couldn't conform to learn the foundational skills. 21st century allows us to approach teaching the foundational skills in a variety of ways to create lifelong learners.
Everyone? Next question.
My name is Carol Arnold. I'm a teacher in the district, and now for something completely different. Do you support a return to local bargaining, and if so, why or why not?
Well, I can't answer your question. I don't have a good answer for you. I don't have one sitting in my pocket in return to local bargaining. I wish I had some voice in that, and I don't, so I'm not going to pretend to give one. That would be for the teachers to answer. Do you want that?
John.
I'm supportive of anything that helps empower the Board of Trustees. And I think local bargaining would do that. I don't think that it's going to happen, though. The provincial government's got their hands in it pretty deep. I would also need to research this more in depth in terms of exactly what is on the table when the collective bargaining happened at the board. But theoretically, I think it would be a good idea to have a dialogue going on locally between if there's certain issues that are regionally determined, that the trustees have some say in those, and create more of a dialogue between the teachers on the local level than keeping that in a provincial.
Neil?
Yeah, sort of like Cindy, I don't quite know a lot about the bargaining process. I do like the idea that trustees would bargain locally with the teachers to deal with funding. We find that it's where the teachers are bargaining with the provincial government, and the trustees are having to deal with what happens after that, and I find that kind of difficult.
Catherine?
I feel that local bargaining is a good thing if that's what teachers want. Trading off for class sizes and also for special needs requirements in their classes. I feel that I'm certainly no expert and able to sort of participate or sort of speak more to that. And I'd imagine that's something that trustees would be offered training in as part of our professional development.
Michael?
Oh, I'm not going to get elected on this at all. Sorry, my fellow teachers. No, I'm not. Local bargaining was at a time when we had a different tax base, and also at a time when the unions in some districts were extremely strong and the board wasn't. Also, we had people who were trustees who were also at one point, let's say, union members, and they allowed a number of financial description, I can't tell, but they couldn't afford it. Basically, that's what it is. There is a reason why it is provincial right now. It is to protect small school districts. It's to also protect boards that are pro-union and are allowed to, let's say, you want this, we'll give it to you. You want this, we'll give it to you. But then they have no expectations of the ability to pay for that. And that was the reason. That's the history of it. So I don't see it coming back.
My first reaction to this was it sounded as if it might be something that increased flexibility. But on the other hand, it would also require great expertise on the part of the board. So I'm going to sit on the fence on this one. I'm not really sure how that would pan out.
Rob?
I'm going to answer this question even though I might be in conflict because my wife could benefit from a raise, and that would help me out. My feeling is that, as Michael mentioned, if we are not in control of the money our school district has, then it makes local bargaining very difficult because we could say we'd love there to be only 10 kids in every class. But where do we get the money to pay for it? There are certain issues that are discussed locally, and we receive the support of the BC Public Sector's Employees Association to ensure that we are not misguided in our discussions with the union and the teachers. So I think there's a possibility to find a good split of issues where some are discussed provincially and others are discussed locally to create what's best and unique in each district.
You did. Everyone in?
No.
I'm sorry, Scott. Last person, I want to say.
You have to vote for me.
I think in general one would assume that it would be great that we had some more decision-making power around Salt Spring, because in general on our island we don't have as much as we should. I do think that because so much of our budget here in the school districts now is not up to us. I don't know what the salaries are. It's 80-90% of the budget. So if you separate that out, then it's very difficult for the local school board trustees to do any effective bargaining. And I would echo what others have said, that I don't think that many of us are skilled enough at bargaining. And although the experts don't seem to be necessarily getting the job done either, we'll leave it at that.
Sir?
Hi, I'm Jerry Barron. Before this meeting, my wife and I have the experience trying to figure out what 21st century learning is. We use 21st century tools who failed abysmally. We did find a movie on YouTube for a whole hour about how to use Google to research questions. So, my question for you, each of you, choice of two questions. As a teacher, could you teach me where to look for this information? Or, as a trustee, what would you put into the definition of 21st century 21st century education that you would be giving this district?
Well, it's many things, but I'm going to pick out one thing and throw that out, which is this concept of personalised learning. So the idea here is that instead of a class of students following through the same information and learning processes in a kind of unison, students are working on self-directed projects and choosing what they want to learn and how they want to learn. This requires counselling, of course, and so one of my concerns from the start has been, however interesting this sounds, some people aren't self-determined or self-directed learners, or find it very difficult, and of course a lot of help, a lot of staff help will be needed. So you have on the one hand the promise of self-fulfillment, and on the other you have some issues.
Scott?
One place to start would be to Google John Abbott. He's been here at the district and has done a lot of speaking on this subject, and is a great supporter of it. One of his essays that I used the title of his essay in the Driftwood the other day. It was an essay he wrote back in, I believe, the late 90s. And it was comparing our current system, or our more traditional system, as battery hens, and comparing that to free-range chickens. That might be a little simplistic, and anyone that has chickens, occasionally the free-range chickens get out of hand and are taken off by raccoons. But I think it is an apt description.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, was a foul sense of humor. Michael,
I got it. Because I'm a chicken farmer, that's why.
Michael?
I'm sorry, what is the question again?
What
Succinctly?
What would you do? What would you add to the district to implement 21st century learning?
I think it's been said before, no one really agrees. The sum of it is the following. It doesn't leave out the foundation skills, but it does show how to increase the teaching aligned to learning. We know we have different learners, Some of us learn better in one way than the other. 21st century says, let's try and have a variety of learning approaches. And once you have that, why do you not evaluate whether or not it's working? You know, the ministry is no good at all. They're great with plans, but when it comes to actually putting the plan and making sure it works, and also to test whether it does work, which is an evaluation tool, that's why we're going in different directions. And the poor teachers, they've got 2 buckets of water, and we're adding more to it. So I think you've got to reduce some of that weight. You sure do.
Rob?
I recommend that you search for Ken Robinson. He's another well-versed speaker on 21st century learning. It's a buzz phrase. It's painful to hear it all the time, and to think people want it to be something. Murray's comment about open schools, open classrooms was poignant. There's buzz phrases and trends, but I truly believe that when you get past the buzz and the worrying about, we're already 11% done the 21st century. I don't know whether we need to start 22nd century learning soon, or at least preparing for it. It is, as Michael said, an opportunity to ensure that we instill lifelong learning in all of our students by teaching them in a variety of ways, starting with the foundational skills and moving on to all the other parts of an education.
Where do you find out about 21st century learning? Well, I think we've already had a few good examples of people who are forefront on their research in this area. Also, the BC Ministry of Education website has some good information. My website, cjohnwakefield.com. I have a couple of links. Sorry, that was a shameless plug again. I'm sorry, folks, but I do have links to the BC Education Plan, which talks about this 21st century learning document. And in terms of your second question, what should it include that's not currently? That's a very good question, because it is quite a comprehensive philosophy, and there are a couple of things that have been suggested to be incorporated, but frankly, they're off the top of my head right now, so I can't add those. I apologize.
Have I caught everyone? Kathy? Sorry.
Ken Robinson immediately came to my mind. You must check him out, particularly if you go to the TED Talks and find him there. And his animate is very, very entertaining. And Ken Robinson, he's basically sort of talking about children being creative, allowing to follow their passions, and really sort of looking how those skills can be then taken into the workplace when they're older. As far as something that should be emphasised, I'd say, I think it is there if you look, but schooling and sustainability, and ensuring children are eco-literate when they leave school and through their school career, and using every opportunity to do that, whether it's through how the buildings work, what light bulbs are used, to actually children sort of taking part in audits and looking at what else could be done to improve the environmental environment.
Does everyone read it, Cindy?
What stands out to me on the 21st century, well, first off, you can Google it, and you should, because when you see it on paper, it is really beautiful. It's like some utopia of teaching. You look at it and think, oh my gosh, I want my children to go there. Definitely. Where is this place? And it's many things, but what stands out to me is the idea of children don't have to know the answers, but what they will learn is if you don't know the answer, you know how to go and find the answer. So we're teaching kids skills that are infinite, which I think is really fantastic. The other thing is that the intention is to honor each child, and that. So if we start with the intention that every child is going to be seen and honored for who they are, and measured against themselves, not against their peers, I think it's a great place to start from. So there's many wonderful things in there. How it comes to fruition, who knows? But there are some lovely pieces there.
Yep.
I think Robert, 21st century learning is a catchword. I think really it's a philosophy that the school district has already been doing for quite some time. There's tons of programs, like I said again, there's the apprenticeship program for the carpentry, there's the culinary one, there's the ecological program, there's I think Sims has a constructivist program class, and I think sort of outside of the school district is the Wolf Kids program, which is an experiential learning program, and some of the kids there, I see them down by my area, neck of the woods, and I think it looks great. The kids are engaged and they're learning tons of stuff, and then their parents are teaching them the fundamentals. It took me quite a few years after I left high school to find my passion, and someone had told me that I could have started that in high school, and I love that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
This will be the last question of the evening from before, ladies and gentlemen.
And I've asked a question before, so if anyone would like to ask a question besides me, I'd be happy to sit down.
Thank you, sir.
This is a more global question. My name is John Terrace. There's something happening around the globe right now. It's called, referred to as occupation, started on Wall Street. And I think as our students, especially listening to the first bits of the 21st century learning that we're hearing, if we start to bring in other tools, 21st century tools, then students hopefully will get a little bit more involved if they're not already involved in these kinds of issues. You are also dealing with budgets. Seems to be the biggest problem that you face above everything else. I'd like to know if you have actually heard of things like Occupy Vancouver, Occupy Wall Street, Occupy Victoria, a short, succinct version of what you've gotten out of it so far, what's being fought for, and whether or not you support that type of thing. Thank you.
I saw that term for the first time today, and
sorry.
I saw it for the first time today, and it's left me. I'm done. I feel like I've hit the floor here, so it doesn't mean anything to me yet.
Michael?
Yes. I'm getting on this. I believe that this movement is not a movement that's going to indicate the direction that has been taken, so much as a feeling for a direction to be taken. It is the result of people who've been through schools, who have the foundation skills, and yet did not have the values to make the right decisions. And this is a reminder to all of us that we have to make absolutely sure that it's not only about the foundation skills, it's also about the values that we instill. We can't teach values by simply saying to students, be honest, make sure you have empathy. You have to teach what that means to students, and we are not doing a good job at that. And this is why we are where we are. Also going to the trustees, the other trustees, see how people talk to each other.
I've been pretty up to speed on the Occupy movement. Being part of my job, I do keep up on what's going on around the world. I think it is very important that people have the opportunity to voice their concerns. There are 99% of the people out there that are unhappy with something. I'm not sure if their message has been that clear, and I do think that once it starts to verge on civil disobedience, that might be the wrong way to go.
Rob?
There was, for Halloween at the high school, a student occupied Halloween, and the sign read, 16.7% of the population is under 14, and yet they receive 100% of the candy. I don't mean to make light of the situation, but I think that shows that our students have an understanding of the Occupy movement.
And a sense of humor.
And a sense of humor, of course. But if they didn't even know, if they had no awareness, they wouldn't have been able to make those signs. It's an important movement. It will hopefully empower people to do more. And I'm aware, and we'll see where it goes from there.
I know a little bit about the Occupy New York stuff that's going on. I've been following that more than the state of Victoria and Vancouver one. I think it's great. I think people are, to me, are quite tired of what they perceive as the 1% and their total blatant greed. And how it pertains to the school, I think the way like Michael was saying, I think it's really important to be teaching our kids good citizenry, and what I also like at the Salt Spring Center, their main goal is to teach their kids compassion and leadership, and I think that's super important to be teaching in our schools, and maybe people will be less greedy, or the 1% will be less greedy. It won't be any 1%.
Who will see what next? John?
Thanks for the question, Don. The occupation, it started in New York, and it's grown throughout the world, obviously, this movement. And it doesn't seem to have a specific message. It seems that it's more of a raising awareness of what's going on in our society. And quite frankly, I think it's good for people to go out and have their voices heard, as long as it's peaceful protest or peaceful awareness, if we want to call it that. It's unfortunate what's happened in Vancouver with the recent fatality, and they're shutting some of these sites down because of safety and health issues. But I think anything that raises awareness to the plight of people can only be good.
Thank you. I have to say I was thrilled when I saw it happening, simply because I feel that people have for a long time been disengaged from politics and from getting out and expressing their views, however embryonic those views may be. I feel it's a great first step, and I applaud them. I find my students at Vancouver Island University are quite interested in it, and some of them are involved in their Occupy Nanaimo. And all power to them. I feel clearly it's not going to continue forever. There will be trouble, and there will have to be evolution with it. But anything that gets people away from sitting in their rooms in front of their televisions or their computers and out on the streets, taking control is a good thing as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's great to see that activism is still alive and well, and people are still happy and looking to get out on the streets to fight for what they really believe in. And we'll see how Vancouver plays out, particularly as it's become a political issue in their local elections. But I think it's great. It's a great example for students, and I'm sure teachers are using this in their classes, particularly in the high school, as illustration of you can get out there and you can make a difference.
Everybody responded? Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to exercise my prerogative as moderator to pose one question to this group based on my experience as being a trustee. Question is, and I'd like you to answer it in less than 10 words. If you're elected as trustees, to whom will you owe your fiduciary responsibility? I'll give you a little chance to think about it. All right. Are you clear on the question? John, are you ready?
Sure. 10 words. 10 words.
10 words or less.
Well, the School Act states the Ministry of Education, but I would add ultimately the taxpayer.
Yep.
The taxpayer, and I would add my local community.
To the islanders who can't vote in selection, the children.
Michael?
It's quite clear. It's in the Act. It's to the Ministry of Education. That doesn't mean I can't go more.
Robert?
To the kids, I think, the kids, and I want them to feel valued in the community.
The student.
Is everyone clear on fiduciary? My interpretation of fiduciary is accountability. Accountability. And stuff.
I'd still say the student.
The students, the parents, the teachers.
I'd have to say the taxpayer, but it doesn't sound very warming to the heart. So I'll say the children as well.
Does everyone have a chance? Ladies and gentlemen, Salt Spring Island is these people. You're blessed to have people of this caliber seeking the position of trustee in our community. And I'd like you to stand, please, and give them your thanks.
I invite my colleagues to stand up and say thank you to the audience. They have been absolutely wonderful.
Ladies and gentlemen, what we're going to do now is give the candidates a quick flash around, and then there's a coffee and mingle, if you wish. So we're going to have a quick flash around, so please don't race out the door, and we'll start. What do you think, 20 seconds? 10 seconds?
No.
20. Cindy?
Starting with 8.
I'm not.
I'm sorry, excuse me.
Cindy with 8.
Yep, start with 8.
I'm 8.
You're 8?
I'm not a political mind. I work on the ground. And what I'm looking for is an opportunity to go into our schools, to talk with our students, to talk with our teachers, their administrators, and ask them what's going on in your classroom, what's working, how do we celebrate that, what's not working, and how do we ease that for you.
Neil?
Most important thing I want is I want our kids to be happy. I want them to feel good about themselves and feel valued in our community. I think that's the most important thing for me.
Happy?
Thanks, we're trying something tricky here. So I just want to remind you what I said, which was balance, process, feedback, communication, and resources.
John?
Vote for me. And if you're not going to vote for me, I'd love to hear from you and see if I can convince you otherwise. But I will, if elected, I will work very hard keeping the students in mind at all times. I will listen, learn, and lead. And thank you very much for your time this evening.
Michael?
Yes. In the back, there is all the trustees were asked 12 questions. And I went to the extreme by using an entire ink cartridge in my computer to answer these questions. And so hopefully you have a copy of those, and there's about 4 or 5 pages of answers. And I can just see the driftwood, by the way, tomorrow, which states school trustee candidate Michael Ryan has indicated that we should buy a shopping center. Rob, examples are held.
Thank you all for coming and being part of this process. It's been the most fulfilling thing I've done in a long time. And I hope you will take the time to vote for me on the 19th so that I continue serving the public, the students, and the community on Salt Spring as a trustee.
Catherine? Oh, sorry, Scott?
I would hope that I'd be your number 1 choice, but I'd be quite happy with number 2 or number 3. I do have the commitment, the experience, the education, and the compassion to do this job, and I would appreciate your support. You won't go far wrong. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I've learned a great deal tonight, learned from the audience and from my fellow candidates. And more than ever, the role that school trustee is one that I'm qualified to fill, but also quite passionate about filling. But I think we can all be confident that we have here on Salt Spring a very engaged community. I look forward to working together in whatever capacity and making it the best district we can for our children.
That, ladies and gentlemen, with that, let's go to the mix and mingle. One thing that is important, one of the candidates mentioned this, the most important thing happens on election day. Please go out and vote. If we don't vote, we don't have a right to complain. Thank you very much.